Well, as you know, I'm trying to put together an undercarriage for an 8-passenger Yellowstone Park coach. I have this set of original irons and I'm putting all new wood into it. Last video I put this rear axle together, but on the end there's a wood ring and then a metal shield that is kind of a dirt shield that goes on the end of this axle cap. Well, I need to replace these two. This one was broken and I actually glued it back together. This one is still intact. I think that's the way it went. One of them was broken anyway. So I need to make these, and they're at a taper because these dust shields are at a taper. And they're kind of beat up. This one has a bit of rust in it. I'm not sure if I can salvage that one. This one is actually in better condition. Physically wise, it's just a little bent up and distorted as well. So I'm going to try to straighten these out, and hopefully maybe I can repair this one. I would like to. We'll see how it goes. So I have what's known as a mandrel. Kind of looks like a dunce cap, doesn't it? It is a cast piece, and it might work to help me round out these metal shields. I think I'll try this one that is rusted first, in case I mess it up. See if I can salvage this one. And I've got a rawhide mallet here. See if I can't get this to work. This is probably something more in the line of work of my brother-in-law, Rick. He worked on bent, beat up carriage lamps. The taper isn't exactly the same, but I can kind of pull it on the opposite side to try to make the other side line up. Not too bad. If I could just repair this. This is the better one of the two metal-wise. Let's see if we can get it rounded out too. That helped a bunch. You know, I've had a number of you folks come through on your vacations, and I take you over to my blacksmithing side, and that's where I keep this mandrel at. And lots of questions are, well, what's that for? Well, it's for making round things round. And it's tapered so you can fit multiple sizes. So I was doing this, it reminded me of I guess you'd call it a joke or short story, whatever, that I heard years ago, and many of you have probably heard this as well, that there was, now this sometimes is pertaining to hair color and not to be as an insult, but there was a young gal that walked into the office and her office mate had this bottle sitting on her desk. And she looked at her and said, well, what's that? She said, well, it's a thermos. A thermos? What's a thermos? Oh, you know, you can put hot things in there and it keeps it hot, and you can put cold things in there and it keeps it cold, and it's really cool. Well, this office mate said, I'm going to go get one of those. So she comes in the next day and her coworker says, Oh, I see you got a thermos. What'd you put in it? 2 cups of coffee and a popsicle. Anyway, well, this dust shield, I'm assuming rusted from the inside out. And it's right up against where that wood circle needs to be. I'm going to see if I can't put some brazing on the inside and kind of build that back up and salvage this. It would be the least noticeable, but that's actually where the decay happened. See if I can't fix this. If I can pull this together where it's supposed to be, get her pretty close, I think. Tack this first. I think I'm going to wish I had lighter brazing rod. And it kind of tacks it together. I'll turn it over and fill the other side. Maybe I can get a little bit right there. My clamp's kind of in the way. I think I can fill some of that. Got a little hole there. I think I can work on this side, kind of build that up a little bit. This is 1/8 inch rod. I ought to have like 332 or something. Keep the heat mainly on the rod and not on the tin. See the little hole back here. Yeah, I think I've got it where I don't see daylight anymore. This is where I'm at. This will be the bottom. This is where the seam is. So it will be the least visible. It's pretty thin, so I left a little extra on there to kind of give it some strength. Inside, I've got a little extra as well. I may play with this on the mandrel just a little bit. I don't know if I can smooth that out anymore or not. I've got just a few little surface areas here that are kind of rough. I am going to see if I can add solder to that, see how it works. Well, it's kind of an interesting test. Which one works better, the solder or the brazing? And they both have their own place where they work well. I'm not sure solder would have been the best idea for this. It worked okay filling in some of this marginal stuff, but in this area here, you notice I struggled with it because it wasn't totally clean metal. Solder doesn't like anything that is not clean. So it did fill a little bit of this flaking, but if I'd have tried to glue all this together with solder, as rough as that was, I don't think it would have worked. So kind of a good test, but I think maybe between the two, we got her done. And like I say, this will be on the bottom, and I'm going to put a little fill in that and polish it up before we put it on. I've got the other one painted, ready to make the round block for the back. This one as well. We'll do that next. Well, that certainly is not the best plan of attack. Trying to keep something that's this wide straight on such a narrow center. I need to take plan B, I think. think that's going to be a better approach. So since these are at an angle, at a taper, these are also at a taper. See if I can figure out what that is. Kind of close. And it's between 5 and 6. So I want to get my diameter right, and I can't just measure across and get an accurate measurement. This is going to be like setting hub bands. See, that says 6 3/4. That one says 7, 6 7/8. So the only way to get a real good measurement on this is actually to take a traveler. I'm going to measure just exactly what this is. So I don't need to know what the measurement exactly is, I just need to know comparisons. Out of curiosity, see if they are anywhere close to the same for both of them. Right there. They're pretty close. I think I can use that mark for both of them. I'm going to set myself up for 5 degrees. So this will be the small end. See if we can get this measured. There's the mark on my traveler. Need to bring it down that far. Pretty close. Right there, we're a little bit big, but that's good. I'm going to take this off and see if it'll actually fit. Go this way. That is actually about perfect. Just a little bit sticking out. I think I can tap that into place here. That'll work nice. And down, one to go. That's gonna work. So in theory, you should interchange. Looks like they will. So it looks like when these were mortised out to fit around the axle, that the grain was going vertical. So I think I'll do the same. This is the bottom because this is what bolts to the clip underneath the outside square clip on the axle. This is where the leg bolt will go into the axle cap. And we have a couple holes here. Kind of interesting. So we have an 1.5 inch axle. So the center of the spindle should be at 3/4, right in the center of this axle. And that should be the center of the hole of this wood backing plate that we just turned. So this notch here is going to actually be rectangular, not square. Well, there's 1 3/4. Looks like about 1 13/16. Almost 7/8. If I get clear back in here, looks like it's 1 7/8 by 1.5 inches. So I'll find my center. Make it kind of vertical here. So this is going to be 3/4 is the center of 1.5 inches. And from here up, we're going to go to 1 7/8. That'll automatically give me my 1.5 inches. So if I were to just push this collar right on this shoulder where it needs to be, this is what butts up against the back end of the boxing. If there was any reason down the road that this had to come off for a repair perhaps, there'd be no way to get this collar back off. And that's where I'm thinking these 2 holes on the side are for. Because when I put this collar up against the old ones here, the holes come in to where if a punch was put in from the back side, it would catch the edge of this and to be able to drive it off. So that's my speculation is why these 2 holes are there. I put these original bolts back in, so I broke this one apart, getting that bolt out. but they are at a bit of a taper. You can see they're wider on the back side than they are on the inside. That's going to allow a punch to come in and knock these off if this ever had to come off. I take this back off. You have to remember it's centered down here, not centered in this whole rectangle, centered down on this 1.5 inch portion of the axle. That should be center of the axle. I need to have it come right about in here, because it looks like that's about how it was on the old ones. Half the hole is exposed, half of it is able to make contact with the shoulder of this ring. So since this is a radial arm drill press, I'm going to set this at maybe 5 degrees off. I'm sure this is not super accurate or super serious. See, now we can take that back off if we have to. Oh no, on a taper. Yeah, actually looked at that earlier. Had the same thought. So this left side was the shield that was in the best condition, metal-wise. The right side is the one that we repaired, but it has a little bit of a wrinkle to it. It was a little more damaged, but I think a lot of that will float out as I do the priming process in preparation to do the paint job. So this kind of ties this one up. I need to do the same for the side braces, for the front crossbar that holds the throw braces. And then we get into the front axle. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.